He saved the alien boy from soldiers when the Queen declared, "You're his father now." Encounter in the dusty, air tasted of ash and regret. Dr. Elias Mercer wiped sweat from his brow as he picked through the ruins of what had once been a thriving settlement on the contested planet of Lyria. 2 years stationed as a medic at the human outpost had taught him to scavenge for supplies when shipments ran late, which was always. Should be medicine cabinets in the west wing, he muttered, stepping carefully through the crumbled structure of the alien hospital. The Lyrian architecture, organic curves that seemed to have grown rather than been built, still fascinated him despite the war that had reduced much of it to rubble. A soft whimper stopped him. Elias froze, hand instinctively reaching for the small pulse pistol at his hip. The ceasefire was technically holding, but the border regions were lawless. There, a flash of movement behind fallen ceiling panels. Elias approached slowly, weapon drawn but pointed downward. "Hello?" he called softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." When he shifted the debris aside, he found himself staring into large, frightened eyes the color of twilight. A young Lyrian girl, perhaps equivalent to a human 8-year-old, cowered in the makeshift shelter. Her skin held the distinctive purple hue of Lyrian nobility, with faint bioluminescent markings along her temples that pulsed with her rapid breathing. "It's okay," Elias whispered, holstering his weapon and kneeling to appear less threatening. "Are you hurt?" Before she could answer, the drumming of footsteps echoed through the ruins. The girl shrank back, terror clear in her wide eyes. "Hide me," she pleaded in halting English. "They will take me." Moments later, 3 Lyrian soldiers in the distinctive silver armor of the Royal Guard burst into the chamber, weapons drawn. Their leader, tall and severe, fixed Elias with a suspicious stare. "Human, we track fugitive child. Royal blood. Stand aside." Elias remained crouched before the girl's hiding place. "I'm just a medic gathering supplies." "Haven't seen any children." The leader's eyes narrowed. "We detect life signs. Move now." "Look, I don't want trouble," Elias said, slowly rising but positioning himself between the soldiers and the hidden child. "This is a neutral zone under the peace accords. Child is Princess Naya, niece to Sovereign Thera, traitor's offspring. Dangerous to stability." Elias felt the girl a princess, trembling behind him. His mind raced through the implications. If she was related to the Lyrian ruler, why were her own people hunting her? "I'm treating wounded here," he lied smoothly, medical bag in hand. "Diplomatic immunity under Section 12 of the ceasefire agreement." The leader raised his weapon. Final warning. In that moment, Elias made a decision that would alter the course of 2 civilizations. He reached back, took the small purple hand in his, and faced the soldiers defiantly. "She's under my protection now. If your sovereign wants her, she can speak to me directly." A tense silence hung in the dusty air. Finally, the leader lowered his weapon slightly. "Sovereign will hear of this. You will regret, human." As they withdrew, Elias exhaled slowly, wondering what madness had possessed him. The girl emerged from hiding, her delicate features marked with both fear and wonder. "Why did you save me?" she asked, her voice musical despite her distress. Elias smiled gently. "Because it was the right thing to do." He knelt again, meeting her eyes. "I'm Elias, and apparently you're Princess Naya?" She nodded solemnly. "My mother spoke against the sovereign. Now they say I am dangerous too." "Well," Elias said, squeezing her hand reassuringly, "looks like we're in trouble together now." Decree of the Stars. The summons came 3 days later. Elias had been sheltering Princess Naya in his small quarters at the human medical outpost, earning curious glances from his colleagues but no direct questions. The girl was quiet, watchful, eating little of the human food he offered and sleeping in short bursts, always alert to the slightest sound. "They're coming," she whispered that morning, moments before the communication panel chimed. Her species' preternatural sensitivity never ceased to amaze him. The message was terse. "Dr. Elias Mercer, your presence is required at the Sovereign Spire. Transport arrives at midday." When the sleek Lyrian shuttle landed, Elias faced a choice: flee with Naya, or confront whatever awaited them. The princess made the decision for him, walking with surprising dignity toward the craft. "We must go," she said simply. "Hiding prolongs inevitable." The journey to the Lyrian capital took less than an hour, but to Elias it stretched eternally. The gleaming spires of the alien city rose like crystalline formations from the purple-hued landscape. At its center, the sovereign spire, a twisting structure that seemed to capture and refract the light of Lyria's twin suns, dominated the horizon. Guards escorted them through corridors of living crystal that hummed with subtle energy. Elias kept Naya close, his hand protective on her shoulder as they were led into the throne chamber. Sovereign Thera of Lyria sat upon a seat that appeared carved from a single enormous gem. Tall and regal, her deep purple skin was adorned with intricate bioluminescent patterns that shifted subtly with her breathing. Unlike Naya's simple markings, the sovereign's glowed with complex designs befitting her status. "The human who defies royal guards," she said, her voice melodic yet sharp. "Approaches." Elias stepped forward, keeping his posture respectful but not subservient. "I'm Dr. Elias Mercer, medical officer with the human expedition." "You," sheltered the daughter of Trader. Her eyes, a deeper violet than Naya's, studied him with cold calculation. "I sheltered a child who was frightened and alone," he corrected gently. Murmur ran through the assembled court. "No one spoke to the sovereign this way. Her mother, my sister, committed highest treason," Thera continued. "Called for peace when victory was possible." Elias felt Naya tremble beside him. "Is wanting peace treason among your people?" The sovereign rose in one fluid motion, her height impressive even by Lyrian standards. The court fell silent as she descended the crystal steps toward them. "Sister executed for treason. Child traditionally follows." Elias stepped in front of Naya instinctively. "She's innocent." To his surprise, Thera's expression softened fractionally. "Yes, ancient law provides alternative." Her gaze shifted between the human and the child. "One who saves royal blood may claim guardianship. Become parent." A shocked silence filled the chamber. "You invoke the right of preservation?" asked an elderly advisor, voice quavering. "Law is absolute," Thera replied, then fixed her gaze on Elias. "Human doctor saved princess. By law of stars and ancestors, you are now her guardian, her father." Elias blinked in astonishment. What?" "You accept responsibility for Princess Naya," Thera continued, "and remain in royal court for her education." Her lips curved in what might have been amusement. "Alternative is less pleasant for both," understanding dawned. This was no honor, it was exile for Naya and imprisonment for him. Yet when he looked down at the girl's hopeful expression, he found he couldn't refuse. "I accept," he said firmly, meeting the sovereign's intense gaze. "I'll care for her as my own." Something unreadable flickered in Thera's eyes. "Then it is decreed," she turned to the stunned courtiers. "Prepare chambers for Princess and her human father." As they were led away, Elias wondered what he'd gotten himself into, and why the sovereign had really spared them both. Learning to breathe. The royal chambers allocated to Elias and Naya were luxurious by human standards, but modest for Lyrian nobility. Crystal walls that responded to thought, changing opacity and color, furniture that seemed to grow from the floor, and ambient light that shifted with the occupants' moods. All were strange to Elias, but Naya moved through the space with the ease of familiarity. "You'll adapt," she told him on their third evening, watching him struggle with the thought-controlled bathing chamber. "Humans learn slowly but persistently," Elias laughed. "Is that a compliment or an insult?" The hint of a smile touched her lips, the first he'd seen. Observation. Days turned into weeks as they established a routine. Each morning, Naya attended lessons with other noble children, though they kept their distance from the trader's daughter. Afternoons, Elias taught her about human culture and medicine, while continuing his work in a small laboratory the sovereign had surprisingly provided. "Why did you become healer?" Naya asked one day, watching him analyze Lyrian tissue samples. "My father was a doctor in a war zone," Elias explained. "He taught me that in times of conflict, healing is the only worthy rebellion." The princess considered this. "My mother said similar things. That's why they called her traitor." One evening, as Elias recounted Earth folktales to Naya, he looked up to find Sovereign Thera standing in the doorway, observing them silently. Her expression was unreadable, but she didn't immediately withdraw when discovered. "Sovereign," Elias acknowledged, rising. Naya quickly bowed. "Continue," Thera commanded, gliding into the room with ethereal grace. "These stories interest me. Hesitantly, Elias resumed his tale of the phoenix rising from ashes. The sovereign listened intently, her luminescent patterns pulsing gently in the dimmed light. Your species finds hope in destruction, she observed when he finished. Curious philosophy. We find hope wherever we can, he replied. It's how we survive. Thera studied him, then turned to Naya. You are content with your human guardian? The girl nodded. He teaches me new things. Doesn't speak of my mother with hatred. Something vulnerable flickered across Thera's features. Your lessons progress satisfactorily. Elias says I'm learning faster than human children would, Naya answered with a hint of pride. She's brilliant, Elias confirmed. And braver than anyone I've known, child or adult. Thera rose suddenly. Walk with me, doctor. Naya, complete your evening studies. In the private gardens adjoining the royal quarters, bioluminescent flora cast soft light on the path. Thera moved silently beside him, her height making Elias feel unusually small. You speak to her of her mother without hatred, she said finally. Why? Elias chose his words carefully. Children need truth, not propaganda. Her mother loved her. That matters more than politics. My sister was not wrong, Thera said quietly, stunning him. But timing was catastrophic. For the first time, Elias sensed the weight she carried. Ruling during wartime forces, impossible choices. Thera stopped, turning to face him directly. You judge me less harshly than my own kind. I'm not your subject, he reminded her. Just a doctor raising your niece as best I can. Her hand lifted, almost touching his face before dropping away. Perhaps that is why I find your presence disruptive and necessary. As she departed, Elias realized the sovereign had revealed more in those few minutes than perhaps she had to anyone in years. And somewhere beneath her royal composure, a lonely woman was beginning to breathe again. Hearts across galaxies. 2 months into his strange new life, Elias noticed the changes. Naya laughed now, a sound previously unheard in the austere royal quarters. She'd begun teaching other noble children human games, creating an unlikely bridge between cultures, and Sovereign Thera visited with increasing frequency, her official reasons growing thinner each time. To discuss Naya's diplomatic education, she would say, yet spend hours asking about Earth customs and Elias's life before Lyria. Tonight she arrived after Naya had retired, carrying a crystal decanter that glowed with amber liquid. Celestian nectar, she explained, pouring 2 glasses. Rare indulgence. Thought-affecting but not impairing. Elias accepted cautiously. I'm honored, Sovereign. Thera, she corrected, surprising him. When alone, formality serves no purpose. The nectar warmed his throat, bringing a heightened awareness rather than intoxication. In the softened light, Thera's purple skin seemed to shimmer, her bioluminescent patterns shifting into gentler configurations he'd never seen before. Your presence changes things, she said abruptly. Council disapproves. I imagine they do, Elias replied. I'm disrupting centuries of tradition just by existing here. Thera's mouth curved slightly. Not merely tradition. Power structures fear. What do they fear? That I listen to you, she answered, moving closer on the curved seating. That Naya grows stronger under your care. That perhaps my sister was correct about humans. Their eyes met, and Elias felt a current between them that transcended species. Impulsively, he reached out, touching her hand, a shocking breach of protocol. To his surprise, she didn't pull away. Your markings change when you're with us, he observed softly. They're less rigid, more fluid. Thera's eyes widened. You notice this? None would dare comment. I'm not your subject, remember? His thumb traced the luminescent pattern on her wrist, feeling her pulse quicken. No, she whispered. You are something I have no classification for. She leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his in the Lyrian gesture of deepest intimacy. For a moment they breathed together, 2 species finding unexpected harmony. This is dangerous, Thera murmured, but made no move to separate. Most meaningful things are, Elias replied. Later that night, as moonlight filtered through the crystal walls, Thera shared the truth. Political factions were mobilizing against her, citing her growing closeness to the human doctor as evidence of the same weakness that had corrupted her sister. They plan to remove me, she confessed, her head resting against his shoulder. Install puppet ruler. Restart war. And Naya, Thera's markings darkened, would not survive transition. Elias pulled her closer. Then we fight. You don't understand Lyrian politics, she protested. No, he agreed. But I understand protecting family. And that's what we've become, haven't we? You, me, and Naya. Thera studied him with wonder. Humans form attachments with remarkable speed. Life's too short not to, he said, then kissed her gently. When she left before dawn, Thera paused at the door. I never expected, she began. Neither did I, Elias finished for her. But here we are. Neither noticed the shadow that detached itself from the corridor wall, nor the messenger who raced to inform the opposition leaders of the ultimate proof of the sovereign's unsuitable sympathies. The trap was set. Union of Worlds Dawn arrived with chaos. Royal guards, not Thera's loyal few, but those belonging to General Vex, stormed Elias's quarters, weapons drawn. Where is Princess? Demanded their leader. Elias feigned confusion. She's with her morning tutors. Lies! The guard struck him, drawing blood. Traitor's child missing. You hide her before your escape. Realization dawned. This wasn't a simple coup. It was a carefully orchestrated trap. Frame the human for kidnapping Naya. Eliminate Thera for emotional compromise and seize power in one stroke. Where is the sovereign? Elias demanded. Detained for protection, came the smug reply. Soon to announce abdication. They dragged Elias to the detention level, throwing him into a crystal cell. Through its translucent walls, he glimpsed Thera in an adjacent chamber, her regal posture maintained despite obvious mistreatment. Their eyes met briefly before barriers darkened. Hours passed in tense silence. Then, unexpectedly, the barriers turned transparent again. General Vex himself approached, flanked by guards. Execution scheduled at moonrise, he announced with cruel satisfaction. Public spectacle. Human kidnapper. Weak sovereign. Fitting end. Where's Naya? Elias demanded. Vex smiled coldly. Still searching. When found, she joins you. After they departed, Thera's voice came through a small imperfection in the crystal barrier. Elias? I'm sorry. Don't be, he answered. I'm not. They'll kill us both. And Naya? Not if she did as I taught her, Elias whispered. Remember the Phoenix story? Sometimes destruction precedes rebirth. Understanding dawned in Thera's eyes. The emergency protocol, Elias nodded slightly. 3 hours ago, if she reached the communication array, before moonrise, a tremendous explosion rocked the detention level. Emergency barriers initiated, but secondary detonations overrode the systems. In the confusion, Elias broke through the weakened crystal wall separating him from Thera. Human ingenuity, he explained, helping her up. Naya was an excellent student. They fought their way to the throne chamber where General Vex was rallying his supporters. At the entrance, they found Captain Mira, one of Thera's loyal guards, waiting with weapons. Princess broadcast message, she explained, handing them pulsars. People in streets, confused, divided. The three burst into the chamber, interrupting Vex's speech. On the central display, Naya's face was broadcasting across the capital. And my mother died for peace, her voice rang out. My aunt protected me through ancient law. My human guardian taught me courage. General Vex would sacrifice us all for power. Choose now, people of Lyria. Vex turned, fury distorting his features. Kill them. What followed was chaos. Weapons fire, shouting, the crash of crystal barriers shattering. Elias fought to reach Thera as she engaged Vex directly, their movements a deadly dance across the chamber. When a stray blast struck Thera, Elias's anguished cry echoed through the hall. He raced to her side, medical training taking over as he stemmed the bleeding from her shoulder. I'm fine, she insisted weakly. Naya is safe, came a small voice. The princess emerged from a hidden passage flanked by more loyal guards. And reinforcements arrive. As Vex's remaining supporters were subdued, Elias cradled Thera in his arms. Don't you dare leave me now, he murmured. We've only just started. Her luminescent markings pulsed weakly. Strange human, making demands of sovereign. 3 days later, Thera addressed her people from the healing chambers, Elias and Naya at her side. Attempted coup reveals need for change, she declared. New council forms today. Human delegation included. Peace process resumes. When the transmission ended, she turned to her unlikely family. Ancient law speaks of guardian bonds. Rarer texts mention deeper unions. Between worlds, Elias smiled. Are you proposing to me, Sovereign Thera? Perhaps, she replied. her markings glowing with newfound happiness. Would strange human doctor accept? Naya giggled, taking both their hands in hers. He already has, she said with childish certainty. Family doesn't need formal decrees. As twilight fell over the healing Lyrian capital, 3 figures stood together on the balcony, human, sovereign, and child, silhouetted against the twin moons. Different worlds, different bodies, but their hearts beat as one, proving that even across galaxies love finds its way.